Simcha, celebration, Simcha, Simcha, celebration of life.
Hello, welcome to Simcha, a celebration of life. I'm Nikki Wellman. Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach was descended from a long line of rabbinical dynasties in pre-Holocaust Germany. Called Reb Shlomo by his followers, he was a rabbi, religious teacher, singer and composer, who during the course of his lifetime was known as the Singing Rabbi.
Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach is more alive than ever now. When the Talmud says that the great sages, the righteous men, are more alive in their death than they are in their physical life, it applies to him more than ever. And I truly believe that it's only the beginning. What's going on now is only the beginning. But Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach is such a generous soul, such a big, big soul, such an ancient soul, who was able, in the most magical way, to integrate both the tradition of the past, which was his bread and butter growing up, and was totally connected to the hitchadshut, to renewal, to the spirit of now, blending them both together in a way that no one else was able to. Reb Shlomo used to say about himself that he would literally be learning 48 hours a day. And it's known that he was literally the top student in his yeshivas that he attended. And this is how it kept on going for many years, until he found his heart in the Lubavitch headquarters by the previous Lubavitch Rebbe, the sixth Lubavitch Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson of blessed memory, Nishmato Eden, and as well as his son-in-law, the last Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. And that's where things actually started to shift a bit. The Rebbe actually told Reb Shlomo, this is in his mid-20s, that it's time for him to go out and start talking to the youth. We're talking early 50s right now. And Reb Shlomo said, but what about all the learning I have to do? What about all the studying? And the Lubavitch Rebbe pierced him with some words which stuck with him forever. He said, it's time to forget a little bit about yourself, which is a concept that for him was brand new. Since until that age, everything was about you have to fill yourself with learning, which was true. But now he reached a new era, a new world, this is post Auschwitz, this is post World War II, a broken world. And in those years, Reb Shlomo sets out onto college campuses, mainly in the East Coast, and he starts to really be in touch and see the world. He says that one day he was actually sitting in the village, at a cafe in the village, and he saw some musicians sitting there singing for hours, strumming just 2 chords. So he said to himself, wait a second, I might not know nothing from nothing, but 2 chords I think I could learn. And he had a teacher in the village and taught him just a few chords. And the truth is, he never really learned anything more than that, because all he knew were the basic 5, 6, maybe 7 hand position of chords, mainly, just this and just the major ones. And with that, he was able to find such a world of expression through such simplicity. And he wouldn't, back then we didn't have, tape recorders were very rare. You don't have a tape recorder unless you were in the industry, really. So what he would do is, this woman that taught him these few chords, whenever a melody would come to him, he'd call her, and she'd write down the music so that he wouldn't forget it. And this was going on for years like this. And since back then, the field of Jewish musicians, it was very small back then. But the starvation, the hunger, the need for new spirit, especially after 1945, after the war, was so evident in every Jewish household that his melodies, which are so simple, which anyone that knows anything about music could pick up any instrument and just play them, and are so easy to sing, his melodies took off throughout the whole world. Till in 1966, Rabbi Shlomo was invited to the Berkeley Folk Festival, playing on the same stage with Pete Seeger, Peter, Paul and Mary, Jefferson Airplane, Bob Dylan. And that's when everything changed. That's when he met a whole new breed. And that's where he felt, on a certain level, his real job, maybe now, was starting to really take off in ways he never saw before. Because what he saw there, what he met, what he would describe, he used to call them holy beggars, all these holy schleppers, all these young kids, who the world calls them beggars because they're begging for money, food. He would say it's not true. They're begging to give. They're begging to give you. They're begging to touch your soul. And this match we see between him and the kids from back then, like he would call them the kids, the hippies, was a match made in heaven, a match which till today is getting stronger and stronger. A year later, in 1967, together with a few of these Jewish kids that he met and that started to find a little bit of a home in Reb Shlomo's arms, they founded what became to be known as the House of Love and Prayer, which was really like a Jewish hippie commune, but it was a house where Reb Shlomo would always stay when he'd come to San Francisco, and where these Jewish kids would live, and where people were discovering Shabbos for the first time, where people were discovering the holidays, people were discovering anything about Judaism in a way that was totally foreign to them. The last thing in the world anyone would feel would be that someone's trying to stuff anything down your throat. But what Reb Shlomo would say about the House of Love and Prayer is that it's a place where you walk in lost and you come out found. He would say this has to be a place where when you come in, someone is waiting for you, and when you leave, someone's missing you. And from 1967 till approximately 1976, that's exactly what that place did.
In the late 1960s and early 70s, Americans encountered an unexpected group of people who at first sight seemed unreal: Hasidic hippies. Many of these young Hasidic hippies were affiliated with or influenced by the House of Love and Prayer, a Jewish outreach center started by Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach in 1967.
I met Reb Shlomo at the House of Love and Prayer in San Francisco in the late 60s when he was performing at the various folk festivals with the greats of folk music, with Bob Dylan and Joni Mitchell. And at that time, I was on a spiritual search. I spent some time with Native American tribes in the Southwest, and I went to the Christian missions all up and down the California coast looking for light. And I was fortunate to have a friend who knew about a Jewish commune. And he said, "Would you like to go to a commune?" If he said it was a synagogue, I might not have gone. But I was very fortunate. I came there right at candlelighting time, Friday afternoon. And the wife of this artist, Elia Sukkot, was there lighting the Shabbat candles. And this felt like home. This felt familiar in a very primal soul level. And I began to investigate, what is this Jewish path? Where is the spirituality there? I would like to connect with that. And shortly after that encounter with the commune, which was really a Jewish synagogue and house of love and prayer, I met Reb Shlomo when he came to do his several times a year teachings there. And the rest is history.
The thousands and thousands and thousands of kids that would walk through there, and the Shabbos, the Friday nights that they would have there, it sounds like you're really telling me a story about 400 years ago in White Russia. But this is happening 1967, 1970, 71, 72 in Northern California, out of all places. Shabbos for him was the strongest vitamin in the world, the Sabbath, the seventh day, which wherever he was, Shabbos became literally what it's supposed to be. Like we say all the time, Me'ein olam haba yom Shabbat menucha. A taste of the world to come. And wherever Reb Shlomo was, Shabbos, you were with him, you were transported into the third temple. Shabbos plays the most significant role throughout Reb Shlomo's life. Many, many of the melodies which we all know and sing today came down on Shabbos. And you know how we're supposed to be able to be very conscious and aware Jews, spiritually enlightened Jews, which means to live beyond time and space. That's how everyone felt when they were around Reb Shlomo for Shabbos.
My father lived his life, love before creation. He was waiting every moment. When Shabbos was over, he was waiting for the next Shabbos to come. He was walking the streets, waiting to meet every Jew, every person, to hug and kiss them. And he was longing every moment for Hashem to come close to him and to come close back to him.
The way that Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach describes his first song being composed, or as he would say, coming down to him, because he was he was known to always have said he never sat down to write music, he just received them. For instance, he once said that one of his dreams would be to attach to his mouth some portable recording device so that he could receive all the melodies that were coming down from heaven into him all day long and catch them. But the story goes as follows. He was invited to a good friend of his wedding back then, and he didn't have enough money to buy a gift. But the day before, this melody came to his head. So when he came to the wedding, he came to the bride and the groom and he said, I don't have any money. I didn't have a gift to get you, but I have this melody as a gift to you. And this was the first melody that we know that of his compositions. Omdi shama be'alei Yehuda uvechutzot Yerushalayim. And once this gate opened of these compositions, this receiving, that gate never shut. And in fact, when he was asked how many songs did he write, and without blinking, he would say 4,000 or 5,000, because he really did receive around 4,000 or 5,000 songs. How many do we actually have? We're trying to find that out right now through our recordings and through our archiving. But in his lifetime, he was privileged to record around 35 studio albums.
Shlomo's melodies had both qualities. They were simple, very accessible to anybody to sing along with, and at the same time had a sublimity, a profound sublimity to them. They were really sublime, beautiful melodies, and with depth and soulful quality about them. So for anybody, any musician with a reasonable ear, it's no problem to follow along and play spontaneous with Shlomo.
When I think of what his melodies have done to the world, he literally created a home for every lonely soul in the world to find refuge in. Because the truth is, his melodies, even though they were new, they're so ancient. They're so ancient, and what they would do is they would reconnect souls with their source.
What we are finding today in Jewish communities right around the world, in virtually any Jewish community center, that a large percentage of the shuls have adopted, to some extent, Shlomo's melodies in the liturgy, in the prayer services, and they've really caught on. They've found natural acceptance, and I would hazard a guess that a large proportion of the people who sing his melodies don't even know where they come from. But they have a kind of a traditional air about them. I think people just assume that they're part of the Jewish culture. So in that sense, just from a musical point of view, Shlomo left an immense legacy I believe, for generations and generations to come.
A sentence, if you change one word, it's a different sentence, right? But melodies, it's 1,000 times more. From beginning to end, every note has to be in there, and it has to be like, there couldn't be anything else.
Reb Shlomo used to say about his melodies one thing. By me, my songs, every note in the song gets deeper and deeper. The next note makes the song deeper. And they're almost all, the compositions, the words are from the Bible. Many, many of them are from King David, who we feel as if Reb Shlomo really brought King David back to life. Very rarely are there any compositions of his with his own words. Very few in English. But mainly he's singing his soul. And his soul is bound with all the rabbis, all the masters, all the fathers, all the mothers he learned about growing up. And they come to life through his music.